This video is on the technical analysis of Steinhoff. At this point in time, we're on the monthly chart. And before we get into the actual technical analysis of Steinhoff, I just thought I should remind you guys that in 2017, we actually saw the collapse of this particular company due to some accounting irregularities as it was reported in the media. Another thing that I also want to mention that is also very much important is that before one actually buys or sells any shares of any companies, I believe that we not only need to look at technical analysis, but also at fundamental analysis, right? So this includes looking at the company's finances, including whether or not they have any new investments. It also includes looking at whether or not they have any pending lawsuits or court orders, or court cases rather. And another thing that's also very much important that we need to look at is whether or not they have any new technological advancements, and where they stand politically and also potentially socially, right? So this will ensure that when it comes to the actual buying and selling, you are in a better position to make informed decisions because you will have a 360-degree view in terms of what's going on in regards to the company in question, right? Anyway, without wasting any further time, let's get straight into the technical analysis. And as I said, we're looking at Steinhoff and we're on the monthly chart. And if we look at this area over here, we had actually had a very nice M structure or a double top, which had a neckline at that point. And at this level, we saw the neckline being violated to the bottom side and the market actually heading up to the neckline to give it a test. And I believe that at this point is where we should have looked for those potential selling opportunities, especially in the case of traders. And this candlestick over here relates to the scandal that I just spoke about, where we saw the financial irregularities of Steinhoff, and we saw the market actually move from this level all the way down to around this level. Now, the question at this point in time is now a good idea to actually buy shares of Steinhoff? In my very, very humble opinion, I believe that at this point in time, just based on technical analysis only, it's not a bad idea to be looking for actual buying opportunities, in my very humble opinion, as I just said. And that is because, number one, guys, the stock has already crashed, right? At some point the market was at this level and now we find ourselves at that level, right? So another thing that I also want to point out is that we're at a very strong level of support and the market has been moving rather sideways for a couple of years, as you guys can see, right? But let's zoom in a bit to get a better picture in terms of what's going on in and around this consolidation area, right? Anyway, let's have a look. Let's zoom in a bit. So another thing that I also want to speak about is that where we have this area over here, right, we have the support area and we had multiple rejections of price in and around that area. So what this tells me is that people have been buying, right, at these points. A lot of traders and investors have been buying at these points, and in the case of traders, a lot of them have been putting their stop losses just below. So I believe that before we actually see the market move further up, it's quite likely that we're going to see the market actually move further down to grab all of those stop losses and then only potentially move further up, right? And in my very humble opinion, I believe that if you do find any buying opportunities at this point and you decide to hold, I would say hold up until price reaches this level, which is where we have the neckline of this double top, which is also now a very strong level of resistance, as we've had multiple rejections in and around that area, right? Anyway, let's zoom in, guys, and see what's happening on the monthly chart, right? So another thing that motivates for why I believe that at this point in time it's actually not a bad idea to be potentially looking for those potential buying opportunities is that we had also this overextended M structure, which had a neckline at that point. It is an overextended M structure because that first leg is at this point and that second leg is at that level, right? So the first leg is much lower than that second leg, and we saw at this level price violating the neckline to the bottom side, and we saw price continue to move that down to around this level, which is in line with where this structure actually started. This overextended M structure started here, right? Went up, gave us this M, broke the neckline, and then came back to more or less where it started. So this means that this M structure is now complete, right? So as I said, at this point in time, the market is at a very strong level of support, as we've had multiple rejections at that level, and ideally I would love to see price push further down for quite some bit to stop out all of those stop losses that I spoke about. And I believe that at this point over here is where we should potentially be looking for those buying opportunities. And if we do indeed buy, I believe that we should hold up until price reaches this level, which is the neckline of that M structure, and is also a very strong level of resistance at this point in time. However, having said this, we don't know how long it'll take for price to move from this level all the way to this level over here, right? It might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, nobody knows, right? But I think this, in my very humble opinion, may be a very good investment, especially for those investors who love to hold onto their investments for quite some time, right?